Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a superb week so far. Students, in this class we are looking at an IELTS writing task 2, and the topic here is, when is the right time to have a child? This was actually a question that was sent to us by one of our members, and I believe this was an actual question on one of the IELTS exams in the last year. So this is exactly the type of question that you might get on your IELTS exam for task 2. This is a members chat class. Everybody is welcome to watch, of course. In the chat, members can participate, and one of the perks of being a member is that you can request classes on topics like this one by Jyoti. Welcome, Pravasha. Hi, Cass. Welcome to our chat moderator, Carolina. Students, this lesson is brought to you by aehelp.com. For academic IELTS, visit us there. For general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. We've got lots of videos, we've got practice exams. We are world leaders when it comes to IELTS exam preparation. You can get our apps, Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help, from your app stores. You can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTS Help. Make sure to join us. Use this discount code, IGET9. It's only for 4 days, and you get 30% off of our websites. When you visit our websites, this is our academic one, aehelp.com. Click this red button to join our premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. Use the discount code IGET9 and you will get that discount of 30% for the next 4 days only. General IELTS, same idea. Click that big red button there and you are good to go. There are lesson plans that will guide you through the course. So it is well worth it, and it will help you to get those nice high band scores on your next IELTS exam. Welcome, Rashika. Hi, Mal. This week, students, we've still got lots of classes ahead for students, live classes. If you have questions, contact me, Adrian, at aehelp.com. We've got task 2 right now, and we will have a listening part 3 and 4 class for everyone coming up in about 90 minutes. Then tomorrow we'll finish task 2 and start a speaking part 2 with everybody. And then we'll have questions and answers in speaking part 3 on Saturday. So lots and lots coming up. To see these live class schedules, make sure to, again, follow us on Instagram and on YouTube. Diana, welcome to our group of members. I believe you have a speaking interview practice coming up as well with me later on, so that's great. Okay, everyone, so the task 2 question that was requested by Jyoti, and I do believe we actually looked at this question a while back, but it's an interesting one, and I thought we'd take a different approach to it this time. So the writing task 2 question, spend about 40 minutes on this task, and here is the question of the day. So nowadays, let's read this. Of course, that's the first step. Carefully read it. Nowadays, more and more people decide to have children later in life. What are the reasons? Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? Fantastic. And you have to write at least 250 words. Now again, students, we're certified British Council agents. We work with IELTS examiners regularly. We work with British Council, and now we've started working with IDP as well. We have an excellent idea of what it takes to get those high band scores, and all of these different entities tell us that 250 words is really the minimum, but it's rare, and some of them actually say it's never, that a student will get a band 9 with just 250 words. So you do need to write a little bit more and give a bit more detail if you are going for those higher band scores like band 8 or band 9. Okay, keep that in mind. And of course, tip 1 is read the question carefully and paraphrase it, meaning use your own words to rethink, rewrite the question, gather vocabulary. So again, students, this discount code only for 4 days. Okay, so use this in due time. The code is I get 9. Okay, on our websites. Now let's paraphrase this question. So here we have this question, task 2 writing, spend 40 minutes. Nowadays, more and more people decide to have children later in their life. What are the reasons? Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? Members, paraphrase this question for me. Think about other vocabulary to say the same question. And then we'll start to get some better ideas on, what we're really looking at here. What are we meant to write? How can we get that high band score? Welcome to our new members. I see lots of new members coming in. Mariosa and Diana, please join in. So I'm going to paraphrase this. Okay, so for example, instead of saying nowadays, I can just simply use the word recently, right? Nowadays really just means recently. If I take the words more and more people, I could paraphrase that by saying an increasing number of individuals. Okay, more and more, right? Increasing a number of individuals. Decide to have children later in life. Choose to become parents. Well into adulthood. Okay, adult, the time of being an adult, adulthood, child, the time of being a child, childhood, time of being a teenager, teenagehood, right? Recently, an increasing number of individuals choose to become parents well into adulthood. What are the reasons? Why does this happen? Okay. And do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? So are the benefits more than the negatives? Okay. So that's my paraphrase. When you're practicing at home, it's really a good idea to reread the original question with your paraphrase. Make sure it's accurate, make sure it makes sense. So nowadays, more and more people decide to have children later in life. What are the reasons? Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? And students, if I'm going fast, don't worry about it. You can always rewatch this video later. It's important that you work on building your English fluency and speed, both in comprehension and in communication, so writing and speaking. So I'm going to keep a pretty decent pace in this class. Bear with me, you will get the idea, I'm sure. So recently, an increasing number of individuals choose to become parents well into adulthood. Why does this happen? Are the benefits more than the negatives? Okay. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Let's see. Kofam, this is what Kofam writes. Okay. So Kofam writes, let's make it a little bit bigger. Getting married and being pregnant tardily have become a popular trend in many countries recently. Okay, this is awkward, Koa. So first of all, you have to be really careful because you must not include information that is not in the question. So some individuals don't get married to have children. So getting married is not in this question. Okay. If you're writing about marriage, that's a different topic. Here we're talking about becoming a parent. Becoming a parent, although is often associated with marriage, it's not connected. It's not the focus of this question. So being pregnant is a little bit off as well. Pregnancy and actually having a child, unfortunately, are not always one and the same. It's a little bit of an awkward approach, and the word tardily is awkward here as well. Okay, tardily meaning late, but to be tardy with having children, it's not a good use of the word in that context. So what I would say for you here, Koa, is rewrite this. Okay, so as your IELTS trainer, I'm telling you, rewrite this, make sure it's more accurate, and make sure, excuse me, must be the truth, they say. So rewrite this to make sure that it's more accurate and to make sure that the word choice is better. Okay, so good try, Koa. That's how we learn. This one's a rewrite. Okay. All right. Welcome to our group of members, Mr. Rahul Preet. Okay, so another paraphrase. I'm going to take a couple. It's very important that your paraphrasing is accurate. If your paraphrasing is off, there's a very good chance that your essay will be off as well, because you are likely not thinking correctly about the question. So this was just written by Ozg, and Ozg writes, okay, so in these days, most of the people choose not to have kids if they are young adult. What can be the motives for that? Are the benefits more than the downsides? Okay, not bad. Kind of some of, the mistakes are somewhat similar to Koa's, but a little bit more accurate. You don't need in, Ozg, so you can just start with these days. Put a comma after that leading expression. So these days, simplify this. It's not most of the people, it's just most people, okay? And I don't know if it's most. You have to be really careful with this, Ozg. Most people means the majority, and more people does not necessarily mean the majority. It means an increasing number of people, okay? So students, be really, really careful when you're reading and interpreting questions that you're doing this accurately. This is why paraphrasing is such great practice, to make sure that it's accurate. So these days, more or an increasing number. Okay, so yeah, more and more doesn't actually mean most. So more and more people choose not to have kids if they are young adults. I'm not sure if that's accurate again, Ozg, because we're talking about having children later in life. We're not talking about not having children. So you have to be careful to make sure that you don't confuse that. People choose, stay on the positive side, to have kids after they are young adults, okay? So then it's accurate, because then you're staying with the concept of having kids, just having them later, okay? What can be the motives? It's not what can be, what are? It's affirmative, okay? What are the motives for this trend? Are the benefits more than the downsides? Downsides is actually one word, Ozg, without the hyphen, okay? All right, so what do we learn from our two students, from Ozg and Koa? We learn a couple of very important points, okay? We learn that you must be careful of your word choice. You must paraphrase accurately. meaning do not remove important information or add information that is not in the question. Okay, pay attention to that when you're at home and you're doing all of this. Okay, it's very important. Hopefully everybody has that. Okay, now Mien, Diana, June, Bharat, Cass, I see that you've also paraphrased. However, I'm going to move along and I will check your work later. Okay, is everybody clear on these important points? These are actually some of the most common mistakes made by students when they're paraphrasing, and it often leads to the biggest mistake in writing, which is writing off topic. Okay, so keep that in mind. This often leads authors, I shouldn't even say students because it's authors, to the biggest mistake, you can capitalize that, biggest mistake, which is writing off topic. Okay, so you have to avoid that. You have to be accurate. Okay, and I see some thumbs up there by Faraz and Cass, so that's great. Okay, keep your paraphrasing accurate. Very important. Okay, so let's identify the topic of this question, and then let's identify the controlling idea, or ideas in this case. So when you're thinking about the topic, and again, this is kind of your second chance here. So when you go from the accurate paraphrasing to the topic and the controlling idea, this is your chance to really, again, make sure that you're on topic and you're not going off topic. So what are you writing about here? And again, always refer to the original question. So nowadays, more and more people decide to have children later in life. What are the reasons? Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? So Diana says having children. Not bad, Diana. I don't think it's quite accurate. I think we can be a little bit more accurate than that. Welcome, May. It's great to see so many new members joining in on the class. That's fantastic. So again, when we read this question, what are we actually talking about? So Rahul Preet before, okay. So Rahul Preet says the topic is having offspring at a later age. Yeah, so the topic is, we can be a little bit more broad here. So the timing of having children. Right? So the age of having children. Although Rahul Preet, if you're going with having children later in life, I think that's fine as well. Okay. All right. So we can say to have children later in life. Okay. Yeah. As long as you've got one of those two in mind, then you're okay. Pravasha says having a kid at an older age. Yeah, okay, very good. Now the controlling ideas. So Rahul Preet says benefits, negatives. Yeah, and before that even, it's the reasons, right? So we've got a two-part question here. What are the reasons? And then advantages, do they outweigh the disadvantages, right? So it's a two-part question. So the reasons for this and the benefits or negatives. Okay, very nice. Yeah, so that's the topic, that's the controlling idea. It's very, very important that you're 100% clear on the topic and controlling idea of what you're writing before you engage task 2. If you start writing without having this clarity, you are risking getting a low band score because you're risking writing a low quality essay that is off topic. And in the IELTS, for those band 7, 8, 9 scores, you have to have accurate information. It's not enough to have just good English grammar, vocabulary, word choice, spelling. Okay? If you're writing off topic, you're going to get a band score of 6 or 6.5. At best, even if you have good English. So be really, really careful, okay? All right. So now that we have the topic, the controlling idea, we paraphrased, we can think critically about this. So let's think about this critically. And critical thinking of the question and these ideas means to ask what, why, and how about the topic. Now, some of you are thinking, well, Adrian, how much time do we have for task 2? Isn't it just 40 minutes? Yeah, it is just 40 minutes. But again, when you practice this at home, you become much faster at it and you start to generate good ideas. And you do this in your head mostly on the actual IELTS exam. So if I'm sitting the official IELTS, then I'm really just reading the question in about a minute. I'm taking another 1 minute to paraphrase the question on paper. So on my note paper, I would paraphrase it, or on the computer if I'm doing the computer-based exam. And then the what, why, how, I would probably just do in my head and take some notes for just the key points that I come up with, right? So first of all, I would ask about the topic, and I would ask, let's do it in Times New Roman today, at size 14. Okay, so I would ask, what is having a child later in life? Okay. Okay, so what would you say to that? Okay, Rahul Preet, I wouldn't actually go as far as saying what is the correct age, because then you're thinking about the argument. Okay, so first I would actually ask, what is it? Remember, we are an international community, and I think we probably have some different ideas around this. So I'm curious what you come up with. Okay. I'll tell you what I think it is, and then, we'll see if you match with what I write. So it means having a child between the age of 35 to 45 rather than 25 to 35. Okay, so that's what I would say. Notice that what I'm doing right away with this topic, because this topic is qualitative, is I'm making it quantitative. Okay, so I've made it quantitative rather than qualitative, so that it becomes immediately clear for my reader, right? So I'm using numbers to define what it means to have children later in life, okay? Because we have different ideas. Maybe somebody would say that, having children later in life is 30 to 40 instead of 20 to 30, okay? Depending on culture, right? See, Rahul Preet says having a child at 28 to 30. Okay. Cass says to have kids in their mid-30s. Okay, so kind of like what I'm saying. Okay. Xavier, thank you for that super chat donation. That's very kind of you. Okay, I see that. That's very nice of you to support these classes. All right, so define that, right? Okay, and then we go to the why question. So why do people decide to do this, to have children later in life? All right, so here I'm visualizing, finish school, start a career, enjoy traveling, make more money, become established, buy a house. Okay, now I have to be careful. I will have to collect my thoughts and make clear sentences. I can't just randomly write all these reasons. It's going to make for a poor essay. So I might not even write all of these, but I have to, make sense of them. and do that in an organized way. So for now, I'm just visualizing and coming up with some ideas, okay? Find true love. All right? So a lot of people want to do that first. They want to finish school, they want to start a career, they want to see the world, they want to have more money, they want to be more established, which kind of means like start a career. So that starts to put together the idea in my head. Buy a house also is more established, stronger foundations. Find true love, again, more established. So I'm starting to realize that becoming more established defines these. So that will give me an idea for some of my sentences. Okay. Okay. And then how? So how does a person do this? Okay. And then the how question is always an example. All right. And while you think of your examples, I'll look at some of the whys. Maybe you came up with some ideas that I missed. Okay. June says it's related to the increasing cost of feeding and educating a child. So again, that has to do with making more money. It's just the one step further, June. I agree with that. Okay. Diana says they decide to have children later because they are focused on other priorities like career, study, financial stability. Very good. Yeah. Koa says, well-prepared financial position. Pravasha says, they want to have a better career. Chandra says they want to be more mature mentally and emotionally. I like that one, Chandra. I don't have that, but to be more mature mentally and emotionally. Mentally, emotionally, and socially. So again, this is why, brainstorming is fantastic because, Chandra, I really like what you said because this can even precede to become more established, right? So to be more mature mentally, I would say just keep emotionally because that is kind of being more mentally mature. So to be more mature emotionally and socially, also means to become more established, okay, through school and career. So this is where you start to become better at defining what's happening, okay? All right, good job. So how does this happen? This is where you want to think of an example. So a person becomes a nurse after finishing university. They get married with their sweetheart, get a job, and within the next 10 years buy a house and car while learning to control their emotions. Okay, so that would be one visual example of the reason here. Okay, now some of you are thinking like, okay, where are we going with this? But hopefully you're also realizing that in part we are actually already on our way to writing our essay. We're just gathering all of the components, all of the pieces of this. Okay, all right. Yeah, May Edwards agrees, says they want to be more financially capable for bringing up a child. Okay, so now we've done this for the topic, right? So this is critically thinking about the topic. Ideally, in the exam, of course, you're also doing this for the controlling idea. Okay, so now we've kind of got it for the first controlling idea, like what are the reasons for it, right? But we haven't really thought about, do the benefits outweigh the negatives? So use critical thinking for the controlling idea as well, okay? idea or ideas, all right? So here, keep in mind, it's do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Okay, that was the controlling idea here. Now, when you have this, do they outweigh? Okay, when you have this kind of a question, choose one side. Okay. You can mention the other side briefly, but focus on one side. With two strong reasons. This will make for the best essay because it will be persuasive and interesting. Okay, so task 2 is a persuasive essay. That means your goal is to convince your reader of an idea or an argument, and you want to make it interesting. Interesting writing scores well. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're in an IELTS exam, if you're in a university class, if you're writing for the newspaper, if you are writing for your company, interesting writing will always do better, will be received better by your readers than writing that's boring and does not have purpose. Okay, is that clear, everybody, on that? All right, so you don't want to say, well, it's both good and bad, and it's difficult to say which is more. Nobody really wants to read that kind of information. Neutral information is not interesting to the public. We all want to believe that that's what we want because we want to see both sides of every story, but at the end of the day, that's not the way humans are programmed. We are programmed to be excited about one or the other. Anybody know why that is? So anybody, this is kind of just a fun psychology question, just a kind of a side question for you. So why is it that humans are much more attracted to biased, or I could say one-sided information rather than balanced or neutral information? So why do you think that is? There's a very logical reason for that. Okay. And Cass is already on it. Cass says, let's just go with there are more advantages than disadvantages, right? Okay, yeah, and we'll do that in a second. All right, so just I really want you to remember this point when you're writing your essay, to stay with one side of the argument. So Faraz says, this is the way how we evolved. Cass says, I think it's more intriguing to read biased information. It certainly is. Why do you think humans are programmed that way? So why are we built that way, to be more attracted to biased information? Because it's the way we develop. Yeah, so for us, you're definitely on the right track, okay? It is needed for progress. So in most cases, if we want to progress, we have to choose, okay? Even though both can be the truth, if we choose both, we often stay still. We don't move forward. So if I say, well, having children at earlier in life is advantageous, and having children in later life is advantageous, then really the young adult listening to you hasn't become any wiser in when to have children, okay? So it hasn't allowed them to progress with their decision, okay? All right, so the basic answer here is it's needed for progress. So that's why you should choose one side. Okay, so then why is it better to have children in earlier adulthood? Okay, so let me answer this quickly. Because people tend to have more energy when they are young. Okay, why is it better to have children later in adulthood? Okay. All right, I would say more knowledge. And patience for parenting. Okay, so I would say that older parents tend to have more patience. They tend to be more focused because they have already established themselves, right? So more knowledge and patience for parenting. Okay, now here's another trick, and this is a trick, everyone, that you can apply. Listen to this. This is a very important trick here coming up right now. So when you are thinking about reasons for the IELTS, and you're thinking about, what can I come up with to really, write a good essay, give myself a chance to get that band 8, band 9, that high band score that will make my essay shine compared to the other candidates. Think about some of the meta components of humanity, okay? So think about the big truths of being a human or of humanity. For example, think of, in this case, okay, I don't have enough time to explain to you all of the big truths of humanity, but there are lots, right? Like pollution, saving the planet, thinking about community and the individual. And for example, in this case, think about the individuals, the parents, and think about society. Okay, so the world, for instance, in this case. All right. So think about the big truths. So in this case, think about the individual, the parents, and think about society, the world. So why is it better to have children later in adulthood? More knowledge and patience for parenting. This is for fathers, mothers, right? Here's a good question. How does it benefit society at large? So when parents have children later in life, how do you think that might benefit the world these days? I wonder if anybody thought about that. Okay, let's see what we've got going on in the chat. Okay, Diana, don't use the word you. Okay, try to find better nouns. It will keep your thinking more accurate and more fluid. Okay, so Rahul Preet says more knowledge and money to care for children, not to feed children, Rahul Preet. Let's keep it a little bit more accurate. So more knowledge and money to care for children. Koa says removing generational gap from old age. I think that's for the previous. Cass says individuals are more energetic. June says children can be better educated than previous generations. Educated workforce raises the overall wealth of society. Okay, June, that's definitely good. Okay. Bharat says at earlier age they are healthier and have more endurance. Yeah, endurance meaning more energy. Okay, Cass says later they are more matured and stable enough to be good parents. I think, Cass, is what you're saying there. Osk says one of the reasons is that people tend to be more responsible in later adulthood. Okay, we're going to have to really explain that, Osk, but you're on the right track. Koa says children will receive better care with higher quality of life. Okay. Rahul Preet says a balance in demographics. Yeah, I think Rahul Preet, you're onto something. Okay. Romaine says more experience with children's education requires, okay. I would say one of the benefits potentially, and I mean, this is of course, again, where we argue, is that if parents choose to have children later in life, one potential benefit is that it could be a step towards stabilizing global population. Has anybody thought about that? So statistically speaking, right, we have almost 8 billion people on planet Earth, and if many of us have children at a young age, then that actually will mathematically add to having more and more people on Earth alive at the same time, especially since we're living a longer age. So one solution to that is to limit the number of children that people have, like having only one child. And of course, another possible solution to that is having children a little bit later in life, so that we don't increase the population of the Earth as rapidly and deplete our resources. So I would personally, if somebody asked me, I would say one big advantage if people decide to have children later in life is it is a step closer to stabilizing global population while still enjoying parenthood for individuals. So think about that, right? Has anybody thought about that? And you know, I know we have problems like COVID and such, but I would still argue that one of the greatest challenges humanity faces right now is population. It's just the sheer number of humans, and I think most of us agree with that, right? So think about those. So again, the trick here, remember this trick, okay, is to think about big truths. So when you think about a question like the advantages of having children later in life, think about, okay, well, what are the advantages of this for the individual? What are the advantages for the child? What are the advantages for the parent? What are the advantages for the more macro picture, the bigger picture, like society, community, the planet, the environment, okay? So think about those big truths, okay? So environment, mental, physical, financial, or economic. If you want to think about the big truths and you're having trouble, just think about all the different majors that we have in university, right? Letty, welcome to our group of members. Okay. Okay, so now that I've thought about these what, why, how questions, right? So again, students, we're spending time on this in class because I'm training you to think for the task 2 question as well as the vocabulary and grammar at the same time. However, in the real IELTS exam, of course, you're doing this quite fast, okay? You're doing this quite fast. So now you can write a thesis statement. Okay, and you should always have a clear thesis statement in mind before you engage your essay. Okay, so your thesis statement is the sentence that outlines the structure, the arguments of your essay. I'm going to write my thesis statement. Members, you write your thesis statement. I think everybody will understand this clearer with examples. So let's write a thesis statement based on this brainstorming and planning, and then we'll compare. Okay, so here we go. All right, I'm just going to go big on this one. So here is my thesis statement. The reason an increasing number of individuals choose to have children in their later 30s is because they are more mature socially and emotionally, and this leads to greater benefits than negatives for both the families and the world. All right. And I think you probably have a pretty good idea of where I'm going with this essay based on having the insight into all of this critical thinking that we did here, right? So you probably go, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. I kind of see how you're going to write this introduction, body 1 and body 2, and we can definitely say that it's looking like it's going to be a solid essay that will be quite convincing for people to consider having children later in life, right? At a later stage in life, okay? So the reason an increasing number of individuals choose to have children in their later 30s is because they are more mature socially and emotionally, and this leads to greater benefits than negatives both for families and the world. Okay, so I'm sticking it all together. If you can't do it in one sentence, do it in two. And the order of each and every word matters. So I would probably go like this, emotionally and socially, and you'll see why, okay, in a little bit. All right. Hopefully all of you are coming up with something similar. So I am waiting for your thesis statements here. And of course, once you have this, it's smooth sailing. So once you have your thesis statement, you will be able to write fluently and accurately. And then your goal, of course, is to pay attention to your word choice, your spelling, your grammar, but the content, the ideas should come fairly smoothly. Okay, so you're ready for your introductory paragraph. And your introductory paragraph will have a hook, will have background, and will have thesis. Okay. So here I can write millions of individuals have their first child after the age of 30. Okay. All right. Oz writes, the number of people who choose to have children when they are later in adulthood are increasing day by day. Okay, that could be a good hook, Oz. I like it. Some of the reasons are people are more mature, responsible, and financially stable to take care of the child. I think jumping into the reasons like that, Oz, it could work in the introduction, but you have to be careful not to repeat or rewrite the same information in your body paragraphs. Okay, all right. So here, definitions. So what are we talking about here? And the importance, right? So this change from previous generations is having a major impact on demographics and social structure. Okay. So I would say that's why this is important to discuss, because obviously it's having a big impact on society to have older parents, to have a generational gap between parents and children. And so we want to make sure that we indicate for a reader why this is important. So why are we talking about this? And then we can stick in the thesis sentence, and that's my introduction. Okay. All right. June writes, I believe that more couples choose to bear their first child in their mid-age due to their need to obtain emotional and social maturity, and this trend brings about more positives than drawbacks considering personal development and worldwide population. Very nice, June. I like it. I think, June, you can make it a little bit more concise. So again, work on taking out some unnecessary words and make it a bit more concise, but I think that overall it's quite solid. Okay. Cass writes, the reason for having a surge The reason for a surge in the number of individuals to bear children in their mid-30s is because they are more stable emotionally and financially, and this could lead to more benefits than drawbacks for both couples and the community. Cass, very nice. So you're on the same page as I am with a bit of paraphrasing. It's well written. Okay. Bharat says, the age of 30s is a stage when parents are financially stable and educated, and this leads to limiting the number of children. Bharat, I think that's a bit more in your body paragraph, that piece. Okay. Rashika, recently people tend to have their first kid in adulthood. The reason for this is they need some time to establish and mature in life, and the benefits supersede the negatives by increasing productivity. And Rashika, very nice writing, okay? Well into adulthood, Rashika. So let's make that a little bit clear at the beginning, at what stage in adulthood, but overall it's very, very good, okay? All right, students, so again, this is the question we're dealing with. When you finish your introductory paragraph, it's a good idea while practicing at home to reread the original question and your introductory paragraph. So here we go. You should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Nowadays, more and more people decide to have children later in life. What are the reasons? Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? Millions of individuals have their first child after the age of 30. This change from previous generations is having a major impact on demographics and social structure. The reason for an increasing number of individuals, the reason an increasing number of individuals choose to have their children in their later 30s is because they are more mature emotionally and socially, and this leads to greater benefits than negatives, both for families and the world. Okay, it's looking good. I think I'm going down the right path for a great essay to answer this question, and we will finish this in tomorrow's class, okay? So tomorrow we will finish body paragraph 1 and 2 and the conclusion. And you can see where we're going with this. So if you have time today, members, try to get a jump start on this and try to write some of this essay so that I can take more of your writing in the class and edit and review it, okay? All right. Carolina, financially and socially can be the same. So socially, students can mean education and financial status. So you're more mature socially, in a sense, when you have more finances. So you can make that clear in the body paragraphs. Okay, so social maturity can also be somewhat akin to financial maturity. Okay. All right, everybody. So tomorrow we will finish this essay, but don't go too far because coming up in 30 minutes, I will be hosting one more IELTS class, and that will be listening part 3 and 4, which will actually be a continuation of the listening exam that we started last week, exam number 5 or 6, I believe it was, from our exam book. And we'll be looking to finish part 3 and part 4 starting in 30 minutes. Again, if you have questions, you can send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. And everybody, check out our website, aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Use this discount code. It's a 30% discount code. IGET9 is the code, and you have this code for 4 days only. So make sure to use it as soon as possible. We won't always have these discounts, so it's a good time to join. Karunia, thank you for your participation in today's class. It was good to see you. Thank you, new members, and thank you for those super chat donations, everyone. I'm Adrian. I will be back again in half an hour, so hang out, get some water, hydrate, and I'll see you shortly. Bye for now.